This brave little warbow draws 4.5 ounces at 5.5 inches and is suitable for defending smaller sized kingdoms. For more on how to get started making your own bow, check out the video description. I followed the same steps as I would for a full-size bow, so you can get a rough idea of the basics. Everything starts with wood selection. Today's bow is made of eastern red cedar, which is really a juniper. Western red cedar is really a cypress. The individual piece is much more important than what type it is, but if you're interested, in the description I left a link to a big list of suitable bow woods you might want to try out for yourself. A sturdy bow needs a back made of a nearly unbroken layer of fibers. See the darker jagged line? It's the boundary between two yearly rings. Watch it shift as I remove the older growth ring, revealing the younger one beneath, and establishing the surface I'll use for the back of the bow. This is called chasing a growth ring. With many woods like hickory, the underbark surface of the tree is used for the back. It provides a perfect strip of unbroken fibers. Now that we have a clean back, I can draw the outlines of the bow's front profile. I'll be using a draw knife to cut to the lines. You could also do this with a saw, chisels, rasps and files, or your favorite whittling knife. You probably have something useful lying around. With clean faces on the sides, we can begin to mark out the thickness taper of the limbs. Using fingers as a fence is good enough and makes it easier to adapt the curve to the piece of wood at hand. Beveling the cut adds a lot of precision. If you try to hack off everything at once, it's easy to make mistakes. Instead, cut to the line at a beveled angle on both sides, leaving a peak that can easily be flattened. This is much more effortless and accurate than carving the whole surface flat all at once. It's easier carving on corners because the knife exerts the same force on a much smaller surface area. With artificial materials, you could follow a recipe and cut the bow to known dimensions. But with bows from trees, there's no way to know in advance exactly where to remove wood. We'll have to figure it out as we go, by feel and sight. That's the tillering process in a nutshell. We'll remove wood everywhere that's stiff, leaving alone any areas that are bending too much or enough. And then we'll check the bend again and adjust again, on and on, until the bow draws back all the way. I opted for English-style deer antler nocks, which turned out well enough except for being too wide for this tiny bow. So I decided to rasp them down, allowing for thinner, lighter tips and a faster shooting bow. Before getting the string on, I made a tiny tiller tree to keep track of how far the bow gets pulled. It can be tempting to clamp the bow to a flat surface, but pulling it on something round like this nail helps to reveal the balance of the limbs, even though the wobble can be annoying. Now it's time to see how the bend looks. This is called the tiller. I used bookbinding linen to string the bow, which has very low stretch, making for quality bowstring. Once we start getting close to full draw, it's time to string the bow and phase into short string tillering. Under tension of the shortened string, we can begin to see how the bend really looks, honing in on the bow's final shape. I made some quick arrows using bamboo skewers, with leather rivets for arrowheads, and scotch tape fletchings. I also made a set of feather fletched arrows, which flew just as well, but were much more work to make. If you have any questions about bow making, I'll try my best to point you in the right direction. For frequent bow builds like this, but bigger, check out my channel